Today is the first update of my 24 days of Granny Squares advent calendar. This is my second year doing this challenge. It's a challenge that I just made up last year because I forgot to order a yarn advent calendar, because apparently you got to order those in the springtime, which makes sense because people have to dye the yarn and figure out how much yarn they have to dye for people and you know, math. Then it kind of got me thinking, well, why do I need more yarn when I have so much yarn? So again, that is what this project is. This is me stash busting a bunch of yarn to make a bunch of granny squares, and then eventually it's going to make a blanket. Week 1 update. This is day 4 of the challenge. I really don't know how I'm going to put these videos out. Last year I put them out once a week. I think I put them out on Monday or something like that, and it was 7 days worth of squares, whereas this year I think it's going to be more like all over the place, because some squares I need to crochet a lot, and then other squares I don't gotta really crochet anything. So it's just kind of like when I feel like making the videos. I do want to post one once a week, so I don't know if that's going to be like on a Monday or a Wednesday or a Thursday. I really don't know, but this week it's a Saturday, mainly because I am working on a bigger project and I was really hoping to get that project done for this Saturday. It has to do with felting. That means you have to put it in the wash, and it's not dry yet, and I don't want to like end a video and not know what the final product is going to be when it's dry. I kind of have to push that back to next week, which is fine because I actually want to make like another version of it, so that gives me more time to crochet more. The reason why I want to do this video today is because I want to answer some of y'all's questions that you have about this little advent calendar challenge, and then that way if you still want to participate, it's still early on in the month, you can still participate and make it, you know, if you want to do it but you weren't really sure the rules or guidelines, because really there's no rules. It's whatever you want to do. If you're new to my channel, you like crocheting and yarn and thrifting and the 80s and like all that stuff, why not hit the subscribe button? If you don't know what I'm talking about, 24 days of Granny Squares is when I take my D20 dice, I roll it, it gives me a number. That number corresponds to a yarn color, such as this is yellow, it's number 5, so if I roll the number 5, this is the yarn that I would pick. Then I make a granny square accordingly. Now last year I did 3 colors a day, then I made them all into like a granny square bag. This year I want to make like part of a blanket, and then next year the next part of the blanket, etc., until like the blanket's done, and then I guess start all over again if I'm still doing it. This is probably a 5-year project. You know, you can still use it throughout the year. It's probably just more going to be like a lap blanket. Honestly, my cats might sleep on it. Who knows? Here is the pattern that I'm using. I made it up. I looked for inspiration on Pinterest because a lot of people make these, so I was trying to figure out like what type of squares that I should do, and this is what I come up with. You can take a screenshot. I also have this listed on my Patreon. I have this posted on my Instagram story highlights. It will say 24 days or 24 granny squares. They wouldn't let me put 24 days of granny squares because that was too many words. You can also take a screenshot here. Basically what it is each day has a color, and the color corresponds to how many yarn colors you pick for that day. Day 1, I believe, is orange, and that means there's 6 colors I have to roll for. Day 2, 3, and 4 are green, which means I only have to roll for 2 colors, which means they're little squares. I have my dice. So let's figure out what colors I'm going to be doing today. First color is 13. Okay, right off the bat, 2 13s. So rolling again for the second color. Okay, so I have those there. Now, what I am going to be doing is the first roll I got is going to be the center of the square, and the 6th is going to be the last of the square. So I'm going to quickly write my colors out and see what I got. These are the colors: dark brown, a dark yellow, a dark red, a baby pink, a heather rose, and a lighter brown. We're going to roll for day 2. First color is 1. And the second color is 7. And I gotta figure out what those colors are. These are the 2 colors today: cherry red and coral. All right, first color, 12. And the next color, that's also 12. Rolling again, not doing doubles. 10. These are the 2 colors today: 12 clay and 10 burgundy. This is my day one. I am honestly surprised how well these go together. This is why I love doing this challenge, is because sometimes I'm like, well, I don't know if that color goes with that, but I know it does. But what if I don't like it in the end? The dice picks for you and you got no choice. The only time I intervene is if it rolls a double. If I roll a 12 and then it rolls another 12, it's like, well, I'm not gonna put two of the same color next to each other. Although like that would look good in the smaller squares, I kind of want it to be colorful. For me, if I get a color twice, what I'll do is the second time I get that color, I'll just re-roll. That wasn't really a problem last year, but it's already a problem this year, and I think it's because last year I actually did two sets of colors. So I did warm tones, which was like reds, yellows, oranges, pinks, and then I did cool tones, which was like blues, purples, greens, etc. What I would do is I'd roll one dice, and if it gave me an even number, that meant I did cool tones, and if it gave me an odd number, I did warm tones. And then from there, I had 20 colors dedicated to each side. So I had 40 colors to pick from last year. This year, I just want to do warm tones, and I've also incorporated beiges, whites, and browns in this one because last year I wanted it to be more colorful, and this year I really just want more of like a neutral warm tone kind of palette. The day one, I've already gotten two brown colors, and I love it. You know, my favorite colors are this yellow, an orange, a nice vintage red, and of course brown. Like those colors just look so good together. I also love like a good olive green, like this lamp that I got at an estate sale in the summertime, that green. And then I have this brown phone, okay, like, and I have the orange that I like, okay, like, and the yellow. You can kind of see from my background the colors that I like. That's probably the inspiration why I picked for these squares. I didn't think these would look good together, but they look so good together. Like, I think these three colors in the middle look great, and then I think that the three colors on the end also look great. They kind of look like Neapolitan ice cream, even though like this isn't white, it's like a baby pink, but on camera I feel like it's picking up as white. They look so good together. Like, I love this square for day one. Day two was this one. So for day one, I had to roll for 6 colors, and now I have to weave in all these ends, which I am not looking forward to. And then day two, I only had to do 2, and I believe I got a cherry red, and this is like a coral color. And this was my square for yesterday. I got a clay color and a burgundy red, which is kind of funny because if you look at the two squares, they're almost like the opposite. This is the lighter version of this. The middle of this is the lighter version of the second row over here, and the middle of this one is like the darker version of the row over here. Now today I've already rolled, and I did bring the yarn in here so that way I can crochet it with you. So let's go and see what numbers I got today. 16. 5 is this lovely yellow color. I love it. I believe I bought this for my grandfather clock, which I know I keep mentioning my grandfather clock in like all of my videos. I absolutely love that project, and I still can't believe I made it. So I bought this yarn for that. This is the Loops and Threads called Color Craft, and then number 16 is this beigey kind of color. These are the colors I'm going to be using for today's square. So let's go make this square. Where's my thing? Now I know this video isn't my typical Saturday video of me like stressing out trying to get a project done. That happens all the time. It's more of like just to sit, relax, chit chat, and get some squares done. Well, one square in particular, and then maybe even sew these squares together because I don't know how that's gonna be. I've also updated my crochet bag. This is my new crochet bag. It is a Stranger Things bag because of course, and I got it at, I believe it's called Miniso. They came out with a whole Stranger Things collection. Yeah, I bought a bunch of stuff from there. It is a pencil case, but I love pencil cases for my crochet stuff. So the back thing here has all of my little notions, my doodads, all of my hook attachments, my measuring tape, my stitch counter, my scissors, really anything I don't want touching my crochet hooks. And then in this one, I have my crochet hooks, and I only have like 2 of these little felt pouches. I want to get more of them, but I wouldn't mind getting something like a pen protector that I can slide them in. So if anybody knows of like a pen protector that like I could put right, and I know I could make one. Like I know I can make one out of felt, but I don't know if I feel like it. Something to go like right here, and then I could just like put all my hooks in. Also, I do get questions about my hooks. This is my BWA Woodturning crochet hook. It has interchangeable heads, so you just have to unscrew it, pops off. I have a whole video dedicated to talking about this. If you ever see me using a new item in a project, such as my crochet hook, I will always have the link in the description. Always look in the description, because if I'm using something, I'll have a link there. Normally, like my yarn spinner, this, if I use like some type of other new like kind of notion or a tool for crocheting, or if I buy like a specialty yarn or something, it's always in the description. I will have the links in the description. All right, let's go make this thing. What was the first color? I believe it was yellow. Yes. The last 2 years, every time that I've done like a granny square project, it's pretty much been from the all-in-one granny square yarn. So I don't have to worry about changing color. It just does it for me. But then again, when I'm doing my own colors, it's like, well, I don't have to stress out, is the color gonna line up? Because of course it is, because I'm changing the color. The other day on my Instagram stories, I asked y'all if you had any questions about this particular challenge. Maybe I didn't explain myself enough the first time I made my little intro video a few weeks ago. So I asked if any of you guys had questions. The first question I got was, how hard is it not to pick the same color choices you did last year? Last year, like I said, I did a warm tone and a cool tone. So I just completely took the cool tone out. You know what? Maybe next year I just only do cool tone and then I don't do warm tone. For color wise, I feel like I didn't get too much new yarn in like this acrylic. Usually when I was buying new yarn this year, it was novelty yarn or it was yarn that I got at Central Pearl, but I didn't really buy a lot of new yarns this year to incorporate. Like I think maybe like this one was new, but a lot of the colors I'm just picked from last year. So this year, instead of putting like the bright colors like bright pinks and bright yellows and fluorescent colors, I decided to do more neutrals and I put more browns and beiges in. They're more my colors anyway, so I don't know why I opted out last year. I think it's just because I had so many colors and I wanted everything to be very bright. So we have the one done, and now I got to do the second row. The next question is, do you think you'll have the same color palette next year for the add-on or do a different one? I think it just all depends on what this year's project turns out, like what the color palette looks like for this. Like if it's very muted, I don't want to put something next to it that is like too over the top, but I think next year's I will be doing the cool tones, or maybe next year I'll do a little bit of both, like a little bit of cool tones, a little bit of warm tones, and then the year after I do cool tones to like blend it. That's actually a good idea. Maybe I'll do that. Take note, put this in your calendar for next year. Maybe I'll do like, just pick 20 colors instead of 40 like I did last year, and just do like 10 warm, 10 cool, do a space for that, and then the year after do just cool tones, and then do a mixture, and then end on warm tones, and then that's the blanket. I don't know, I think maybe that's a good idea. Would you repeat a color in a square if it's not back to back? Me personally, no. I only want one color in the square. If I didn't have as many colors as I did, like if I only had like 10 colors or something, then probably. But because I have 20 colors, I really don't want a repeating color in the same square. If the repeating color is say on the border of two different squares and I have to attach them together, it's fine. Like it is what it is. If it's in the same square, I prefer not to have the same color anywhere in the same square. How am I planning to join them all together? I think I'm going to do the mattress stitch, and I think I might do a little bit of that today once this square is done, because it's not a really long square. I also want to make sure that it lines up, because if something happens and they don't really work out and I've given this pattern to everybody and then I messed up badly and then I have to like issue a formal apology being like, hey, my squares don't line up, I'm so sorry, you know, kind of should make that judgment call sooner than later. And because it's only day 4 and we've only done 4 squares and 3 of the squares were really little, I think it will be okay. How many colors do you need? For me personally, I picked 20 because I have lots of yarn. More yarn I can use up, the better. And I also picked 20 because I love my D20 dice, I call it D&D dice, but you know, my D20 dice. I really like that one and I really want to use it, and it's really the only time I get to use it. I picked 20 because I have a 20-sided die. Now you don't have to pick 20 colors. The only day that you might get into an issue would probably be day like 11 or 12 or something like that, and that is a day where there's going to be 10 colors you're going to need to roll for. So that means you'll have to have 10 colors in a granny square. If you're fine with rolling doubles, then that's also perfectly fine. Well, I think for this particular project, if you do not want to have two of the same color in a square, definitely have at least 10 colors. There's that little square. That's actually kind of like interesting. I don't think I would ever put these two colors together, but they're giving me like wheat field, like farm. It all depends on how many colors you have and that you're willing to use, pretty much. My next question is do you need a D20 dice? No, you really can use whatever you want. I know my one friend, she's actually using a spinner. Like she's just like spinning for the number, which I think is pretty neat. So you can do that. You can even like just put all your colors in like a bag and just pull out a number every day. You can just use like regular dice. You could also do it where, say, like, you know, like a regular traditional dice has 6 sides. You could roll it the first time, do like odd and even number, like how I did, and maybe like if it's an odd number, it's these 6 colors. If it's an even number, it's these 6 colors. And so you would roll if it's an odd or even, and then from those 2 different batches of colors, you roll again, and then the number. If that makes sense. Kind of what I did last year with my warm and cool tones. So you can definitely do that. You could also have 6 different piles of colors, and whatever number you roll, that's the pile that you pick. So say you rolled a 3, well, you got to pick the color from pile 3, and then you'd have 6 colors in that pile 3. So then you would roll again, and then you would get a 4. So you would pick the 3rd pile and the color that is associated with number 4 in that 3rd pile. So really, you can do as many piles as you want. If you want a D20 dice and you want to have 20 different piles, up to you. And the last question is, do I need to follow a pattern? You don't need to follow my pattern. You can do whatever pattern you like as long as it ends up with 24 squares in the end and you know what to do with those 24 squares. For me personally, I have a pattern, and if you want to follow it, great. If you want to do your own pattern, also great. It's just kind of like a great stash busting project. And honestly, if you're watching this video and December is long past, you can still do this. You can do it with any month you like, you know? It's just a stash busting project, and it's a great way to use yarn that maybe you wouldn't really use, especially yarn that you would never think to use together. Like seeing the squares that I've made, I don't think I would put a lot of these color combos together, but seeing them together is giving me ideas for like other projects. My last year's project, I ended up making a tote bag. Every day I always knew that I was rolling for 3 colors. Whereas my project this year, I could be rolling for 2 colors that day. I could be rolling for 10. It just all depends on my grid, my little pattern that I made. But honestly, you can do whatever project you like, and you can definitely make it your own. We got day 1, we got day 2, we got day 3, we got day 4. Now I'm gonna go and get some clips because they're over there, and we're gonna sew these together and hopefully they line up the way they're supposed to line up. So they're clipped. That's what they kind of look like. I gotta go sew them now. So I was originally gonna do it with white yarn, but I think black yarn will just look better because it'll be more invisible than the white yarn would be. And I'm gonna take this metal yarn needle, which I absolutely love. It's the only thing that I will attach my stuff with. I'm going to quickly sew these up and then I'll be right back.
5 minutes later.
So that's what that's looking like. I do need to sew these together. They're just kind of like flopping right now. Just don't know how I want to sew those quite yet, just because the piece that has to go underneath it, I want to like maybe do a few more days and kind of figure that out before I do anything. I feel like when they're in, it might be a little like all over the place, and that's okay. All right, I don't think this blanket is going to be like perfectly square because I've never done it before, but I do like how they are looking. So we have day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and then I think day 5, a bigger square here, like it's a 4 square, and then I think I have like 6 and then 7 down here, like 2 little ones, and then I think I have a big one. I think last year what I did is once I got 12 days, I sewed those all together, and then I don't remember actually. Did I do them all together or did I do them all at the end? I think for this year, for like my peace of mind, I'm gonna have to sew them as I go. And because they're not perfect, they're not gonna be in a nice, perfect grid, there's not really a point in me waiting to the end to sew everything together, because I'm gonna have to be cutting so many ends and so much yarn that I don't really think it matters when I sew these together. But I think if I keep up with it and I sew it like every few days where I can get a nice square pattern. Like I didn't want to sew this and this together because then I knew that I would have to attach 3 more, and like doing a straight line would be a lot easier than sewing 3 individual pieces. Like this is good, and then I think tomorrow I'll have 1 here, and then I'll have 2 more here, and I think when those 3 are done, then I'll sew those together and then sew them to here. If I can make the days into like squares, this one like 4 days made a nice like little rectangle. If I can wait until I have like enough squares to make a nice square rectangle type of shape. I think that's what I'll do. Sew those together and then sew them to here. So I'm not waiting to the very end to sew everything together because I don't want to weave in all these ends at the end. Okay. But yeah, this is what 4 days look like. I think it looks so good. I've always wanted to make this blanket. If you know me, I don't like making blankets because they take way too long. That is why maybe I do one a year. Actually, this year I did quite a few. Those were because they were like with the fancy granny square yarn, so it was okay. But yeah, look at these. So far, I think this one's my favorite. I love that one, but I love how these ones all look. This looks so good already. But yeah, I think this looks pretty good so far. I think that sums up this week's update of my 24 days of granny squares. I just wanted to give you a little update, show you how I'm sewing them together, and answer some questions that people had. But I think it's turning out really good. So in the comments below, let me know if you're participating. Also, let me know what your project's going to be, because I know not everybody's going to be doing the same pattern as me. So if you're doing something different, I would love to hear it. I think that does it for this video. So y'all have a good day now.